Hey everybody, it's GoblinX and welcome back to my millionth premiere draft of a set I'm so done with, but there's nothing else on Arena yet still. Where are the flashback drafts? Let's get into this. We're going to start with Anti-Causal Vestige here as a great colorless spell that we can put into any deck. It is a 6 mana, 7/5 after you warp it, so that's not too much mana even for a pretty aggressive color pair, so I think it fits into pretty much anything, so it's a very reasonable pick. This is a very powerful opening pack, though. We could also take Glacier Godmaw, Sunstar Lightsmith. These are super powerful, super reasonable options, but I love going with the colorless one of the three because it'll definitely make the cut. And today's draft and the drafts for the next few days here are going to be an interesting thought experiment here where I do not like this set. I have not been enjoying my drafts lately, but we're going to try to go in with full positivity. Once I get that whole spiel out of the way in the first minute, just so everybody knows where the cards fall, everybody knows where I'm at on the set, I'm going to ignore it and just pretend and have super fun. So we're flipping over to positivity mode. From this point on in the draft, not a word will be spoken about the distaste for Edge of Eternities. Pick 2, we have Larval Scoutlander, which is a great way to ramp towards the Vestige early, which is pretty sick. It's also great fixing, super good with Lander tokens, which green has a ton of, so that'll be really nice. Alternatively, there's a lot of black options here. I think the best one's probably Vote Out for really solid removal, but Virus Beetle is also good too for one. Tragic Trajectory can be excellent cheap removal too, but I like going for Scoutlander with the Vestige ramping into it. That could be pretty fun. Fate Maker is not the greatest. Blooming Stinger is a fine filler blocker, and the Resolve is solid removal in green because of the amount of beefy creatures there are. The rest of this pack is super filler in every other color, so there's no reason to speculate here. The strongest reason would be Lost in Space, but at that point we just take Melt Strider's Resolve for the on-color removal in the first place. Pick 4. We've got a Blooming Stinger here, again for that solid little filler Death Toucher. Cheap interaction with Cryo Shatter out of blue, Plasma Bolt out of red. Both are narrow in their own rights, and not the biggest reasons to push into a second color. Hole Carver also okay. Not super high on the Lash Whip Predator, as it has no extra abilities outside of just being a beefy body for the cost. If you're spending the full 6, it's pretty mediocre, and even for the 4, there's some games where it doesn't tend to matter that much. You know, the on-color cards might be weak enough to speculate on a Shatter, a Bolt, or an Honor or something. Here, I'll grab a Cryo Shatter. Pick 5, Galactic Wayfarer. That's a big one. The mythic common of the set. My favorite common. Technically, I think not the highest win rate common. Cryogenic Relic. Not cryogenic. Cryogenic Relic in blue, I think, has a higher win rate, actually. 2 mana, enter, draw a card, and then 2 mana, sack it, draw another card, and stun somebody. It just has some great synergy in blue. But Wayfarer, I think, is the best, like, flexible one. Fits into every single green deck incredibly well. Pick 6, Tanook for a card engine. For a green-red deck, the Land Seeker. For a nice Menacer that comes with a lander as well is also great. Super solid stuff here between the two. I found that Tanook doesn't trigger insanely often. Actually, a card that looks a lot better than it plays. Got like one lander right now. I'm weirdly going to take Landseeker over Chinook. Pick 7, Fungal Colossus. Out of a pretty empty pack. I'm not exactly excited about it. It's another one of these creatures that's just a stat line. It's just big green beef. Pick number 8, Hole Carver. Early Death Toucher in black is fine. We're obviously not in black at all, but everything else in the pack is incredibly filler, so. The Stinger. Moxite card draw out of red. Rare draft a Deserted Temple. Another Blooming Stinger. I mean, we're definitely a green deck. The rest is pretty open here. So we have the Psionicist for a lot of cost reduction when we're double spelling. Soul Ring on a stick. We have the Chinook. Now I have 2 lander producers with Landseeker and Wayfarer. The Scout Lander also triggers it, so Chinook's getting a little better now. If this wheels, that'll be super interesting, potentially. I think I have to just take Secluded Starforge, though. This is excellent when you are flooded out. So if you get into a top deck war and you're flooded out, any turn where each player draws a land, you're now up another 2/2. Just get to spit out a 2/2 no matter what every single turn. Pretty big fan of Starforge, and I'm going to take it here. Another colorless rare as well. The Vestige and the Starforge that go into any deck. Here's Gene Pollinator. We are married to green right now, and this is a great way to fix our colors and ramp us in any color pair, let alone trios or 5-color deck or anything crazy. Pick 3, another Gene Pollinator is great. Grav Kill towards black. I've got the 1 Hole Carver. I only have 2 red spells, 1 blue spell. It's not crazy to move towards black here, potentially. But Gene Pollinator is a great spell for green decks. Where I'm definitely at. Actually plays quite well with like Meltstrider's Resolve as well, which is cute. Now I can take like a vote out. The Ostia Harmonist has actually been a lot less impressive than it looks. I've played this 3 or 4 times, and I don't think I've actually ever reanimated something with it. So maybe it's just bad luck. That's just variance that's talking it down for me. But it's also pretty restrictive, requiring double black. The vote out, even if we don't end up playing black, we have 2 Gene Pollinators and 2 ways to get land of any color in green alone, the Wayfarer and the Larval Scout. So the vote out can get cast off a single swamp, even if black isn't a main color, so it's a lot more guaranteed to end up in the deck than the double black Ostia Harmonist. Pick 5. Sammy's Curiosity is reasonable when you have a bunch of Gene Pollinators, because it'll put another permanent onto the board early. It's not a card I'm particularly high on for like 2-color decks, but nothing in this pack is something I'm particularly high on. It's a pretty mid pack anyway, so we could take Curiosity. Well, probably will hop onto the red train here. Galactic Wayfarer for only 2 mana is super sick. Obviously it's a 1/3 instead of a 3/3, but still 2 mana to get a creature and a lander token, plus you get some pings off all the landers you're using. It also pings when you sack Melded Moxite, so a little bit of extra synergy there out of nowhere. It's pretty cute. Very happy to see Biotech Specialists here. Pick 6, and seeing that pick 6 means we're probably going to see the Tanook wheel, because nobody wanted this green red card that's much better than Tanook. Pick 7 now. Zookeeper Mechan's actually very reasonable. It's probably better than World Sire. World Sire's funnier, but World Sire is also like, okay, I'm going to spend 8 mana for a creature with no trample, no flying, nothing like that, that can just die to your vote out or whatever. Sure, it has Ward 3, but it's like an 8 mana card. Your opponent could just pay for the ward by then. World Sire is cool, though. It's funny. Not into any of those cards in this specific archetype. Oh my god, pick 9 Psionicist? Well, is there any world that I end up in blue? Probably not, but I'm not playing any of the other cards in this pack, so there's no reason not to speculate on that pick. All right, pack 3. What do you have for me? It's a pretty unfortunate one. I think I'll just take a Moxite here, I guess. This is a pack where we've opened up a great white rare, and it's a really aggressive one, so not really one worth splashing in off of lander tokens, because its power comes from curving out with it on the play. Something that you're not doing with the cards that you're splashing in. Yeah, I guess it's a Moxite, which is a pretty mid card to take. Pick 1, but we could also take the Fungal Colossus or the Broodguard lead, I guess. Also pretty filler, but I have less when it comes to top end filler. Sure. Grab a Fungi. Orbital Plunge, great removal that gives us a lander. Synergistic removal for this deck, love to see that. don't have a lot of removal right now. Definitely interested in the Orbital Plunge. Another Orbital Plunge, very happy with that. Reasonable options here like Fungal Colossus and Tenderfoot as well. Bioengineered Future, though, a card that is pretty narrow, pretty dirtily, not the greatest. Pick 4. Nebula Dragon's a great card to ramp into and help stabilize you. We've already got double Gene Pollinator, Sammy's Curiosity, a 2-mana ramp card, some lander tokens at 2 and 3, and a 4-mana lander token maker with Land Seeker. I think Nebula Dragon is filling a better role in this deck that we're missing out on than a 3rd Gene Pollinator is. Or a Scrapbot, which is also quite reasonable. There's a couple of really good ramper cards here. Pick 5, Ice Cave Crasher for the middle of that mana curve. Pick 6, Plasma Bolt for early interaction against aggro decks. Killship is pretty decent in these rampier decks too, though. Obviously, a 7-mana removal spell is pretty mid, but when that removal spell comes with a massive finisher your opponent has to spend their own removal on, it's decent. You do have to, of course, station it, but that is usually pretty easy to do in these green decks. You just end up top decking random Colossus at some point, and that almost single-handedly stations it. Another Nebula Dragon. Another Land Seeker. Surprised we didn't get the Tanook back. But again, Tanook is one of those cards that looks much better than it plays. So before I had played it in like 4 or 5 decks, and before I'd seen the stats on it, I probably would have taken it much higher this draft, like everybody else in the pod did. So it makes sense. Tenderfoot or a 3rd Colossus? Yeah, double Dragon, double Colossus, a Vestige. I'll grab a Tenderfoot. Alright, Gruel it up, a little splash of black for a little bit more interaction. That should be a very easy splash with a single swamp in here. The amount of landers and the like. 5 cuts to make here. So Broodguard Elite I don't love without synergy for it, and even then it's quite slow. I get that they were making designs around the mechanic of the set, but I think this would have been like a reasonable spell if it was like an adventure where like you spend the green and X and you immediately get the counters. It's always such a bummer of a feeling to like warp this in, and it's like you don't have those +1/+1 counters during that combat. You have to wait all the way to the end step, then you get those counters, and then it's like a super slow creature, like a 6-mana 4/4 when you hardcast it later. Never plays super well, even when you are like the green-white counters deck, and when you're not, I think it's just actively bad. When you don't care about the counters. Tenderfoot's pretty slow of a mana sink, pretty filler. Remnant Elemental as well. I have a soft spot for this card, but I think it's pretty inconsistent. And not that great. Although this would be one of the decks where you can actually trigger it, like at instant speed, to block a little bit better. And could actually get a couple 4 damage swings off of it. Not that often, but on occasion. Non-creature spells to cut, I think it's really just the Curiosities. So I've got enough, like, actually good lander token production, cards that actually impact the board, plus play a lander out, that we really don't need the Curiosities in addition. They're mainly to make the Pollinators better, but I've got a bunch of 2-drops to help the Pollinators play fine. So I feel like these 6 are all very reasonable cuts. We gotta cut 5 of them. What's the creature count looking like if I cut all these? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 creatures still. Even without all those, that's plenty. 1 spacecraft that we need those creatures to station. A Starforge spitting out little baby creatures in the late game. Sure. Go lower on the creature count, play our one of Sammy's Curiosity. And a very reasonable little Gruel ramp deck here with a tiny little splash into black. We'll double check the colors. We're on 12 green spells, 10 red. That's very close on those two, so 8/7 seems correct to me. The argument to change that count is that at 1 mana in green, we have 3 different spells that can tutor out a secondary color of mana. So green being in the opening hand is tremendously important. We could go 9-6 split on it, despite green and red actually having pretty comparable numbers of spells in this deck. The green gets us to the red a lot more often than any other color does. Yeah, we have 2 Land Seekers once we're at 4 mana that can then tutor out another color, but what's really important is what early spells are fixing you, and all of our early spells that fix are in green. Even the 3 mana ones, the Wayfarer and the Scoutlander. I'm going to go 9-6 on this. I think having green in the opening hand is astronomically important. I don't think we can keep a single opening hand without green, but we could keep opening hands that don't have mountains in them. Because we could keep opening hands with Curiosities or Pollinators pretty easily, or even an opening hand with a Wayfarer or a Scoutlander that has forests would be keepable as well. So, yeah, we'll go 9-6-1 and a Starforge. Call it a deck here, hop in the gameplay, and see how far we can take this. Case in point, this hand would be a Snap Mulligan without the forest, if that were a mountain instead. But a very reasonable start to the game since it was a forest. Naturally top deck the mountain anyway. Still a great draw though, it gets us to Land Seeker on turn 3 instead of Wayfarer. If we want to get menacing and get aggressive here. It also lets us tutor out the black source immediately for vote out. Fungal Colossus is now only 3 mana, which is pretty sick. Could play Colossus and a 2-drop in the same turn, like Colossus and Crack-a-Lander. Pretty awesome. The one argument against Landseeker is that it does kind of force us to sacrifice its Lander token next turn, which means if we don't top deck a land, then we would prefer to Crack-a-Lander and play a Mock Site, which is not the best use of our mana. So playing the Landseeker, we really want to top deck a land here, so we can go like Colossus plus Crack the Lander, or Wayfarer plus Crack the Lander. But I think it's reasonable. And now, drawing the Blooming Stinger, I think we actually just have a better play. Because now off a double block, we actually get to trade with both creatures instead of just one. So we actually get our 4 damage in here instead of trading into 1 Zealot. Our opponent does not like the Menacer though, so they are going to take the full-on double trade. Looks good to me. And then we'll crack this Lander because it is gone forever soon enough. Get another green in this hand. I've got double green. I could cast both these spells in 1 turn. Green, black, white, red from our opponent. There's the Seed Ship Brood Tender milling a bit, going for some reanimation potentially. Sunstar Lightsmith looks like their best targets, and that's not the greatest to reanimate for 5. Double green spell looks super reasonable here. Colossus plus Wayfarer. Not even really concerned about a board wipe when we have the Starforge on the board. Mock Site to do some digging when we flood out. I should say if we flood out. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. But our hand and our board is really well positioned. No matter what we draw. Like if I just sit here drawing a bunch of lands, we get to ditch 1 to draw 2 more, and I can just sit here and make a 2/2 every turn, so we're still impacting the board every turn. Lightsmith coming out here. Alright, they're going to tap out for the Lightsmith, fair enough. Don't have the mana to double spell with it. And they are under a lot of life total pressure if they don't just immediately trade off here. I think they're under enough life total pressure here. We might be able to get a great trade in our favor off the attack. They do not want the trade, so we will vote out, but I'm going to Mock Site first. Solid draws. Wow. I can Plasma Bolt the Lightsmith instead then. I could crack the Lander instead of cracking the Moxite to trigger Void. To play around specifically a board wipe. But I'm just going to make the board a little bit wider to make sure we've got lethal next turn. More likely. Again, we have that Starforge for board wipe resiliency. Scout for survivors, pick up a Zealot. They are dead to vote out. They don't have a way to protect the Zealot or blow up one of our creatures. So we'll go for it. And there's concession from our opponent. That's 1-0. Head into game 2. Alright, here we are on the play for game 2. As we said, we built this deck. Basically, any hand without a forest is unkeepable. This one particularly so. Even if we hit the right colors of mana, we don't get to do anything until turn 4. Which is quite risky. And then obviously there's the risk of just not even hitting the lands or the right colors, and then we really don't do anything. This is better. Specialist goes a long way for this hand. Probably ditching Nebula Dragon as the most expensive card in the hand by a lot. Oh, this is a swamp, not a mountain. The color blindness has stricken. Stricken is definitely not a word. We might lose because I thought that was a mountain. Me and my stupid fancy lands for the set. Trying to have the right full arts for every set. Well, obviously that was a punt, but that means our best scenario here would be a mull to 5, which is still pretty iffy. Luckily, we're not under much pressure. If we find the mountain next turn, we're kind of just golden. Start casting orbital plunges. If we miss it, that's where we start getting real punished here. So now we've skipped the land. Any land in the whole deck would have been excellent, because we could warp out the specialist off of the vestige. And then that gives us the lander token, and we're locked in to have all of our colors. I mean, there's a world where I know that this is a swamp and still keep this hand. Probably not. Probably would have the mulligan. But theoretically, any 2 lands we draw give us all of our colors, because the vestige plays the specialist, which gives us the lander. What are they sacking Virus Beetle for if they're beckoning it? I'm like, they could cast the sack a creature, destroy something spell, but there's nothing on my board to target. Yeah, they kept reading the Virus Beetle. I'm like, I don't think there's a single spell in the set where you can profitably sack that Virus Beetle right now. Even though you could get another discard off of it. Ooh. Not a great land to draw there, but at least we did get there eventually. Ooh, Scoutlander over Specialist. So that I have the red source untapped next turn. I kind of have to have the red source untapped next turn, but I think we're dead. I think this took too long. We missed like a couple land drops, and I think we only had time to miss like 1 maximum. Maybe not even that. Down to 9. If their hand is super bad, technically I'm like 1 Skitter Maw away from being stable. And I have the plunge for that Skittermaw. Pangolin. It's not bad. Terra Pact Intimidator. They are stuck on lands a lot right now, but I'm so low on life, I don't believe I have a choice but to give them the landers. It's such a brutal combo with Pangolin too, because they still get 1+1/+1 counter at minimum. And I believe they have the sack a creature, destroy a creature. Otherwise, they would not have thought for 5,000 years earlier with the Perigee Beckoner. They wanted to go insanely deep earlier. And sack a Virus Beetle to destroy one of their own cards, just to make me discard a card. They decided against it. But it was still funny. Alright, not much we can do there. I thought a swamp was a mountain. It happens. We could have tried to win off of a Multi-5, but the hands were quite rough there. Would have been an uphill battle of a game. Here we are on the draw for game number 3. We're 1-1 right now. Great opening hand here. Just curving into a bunch of reasonable spells. All the way through the mana curve. Unfortunately, with no extra permanent for Pollinator, we cannot play a 5-drop next turn. But I guess the Starforge is a 3rd land, so it's actually a 4-mana 5/5. So this hand doesn't have a 5-drop. It's all 4s or less. Bunch of 1-toughness creatures. I actually prefer the Trampler right now. And then I could spend 3 mana, 1, 2, 3, to play Scoutlander, get a Swamp, that makes Colossus only 3 mana, spend 1 from Starforge, 1 from Mechan, and 1 from Pollinator. I can go Scoutlander and Colossus next turn. They get 2 Lander tokens if those die this turn? Sure, you can hit me. And then Void for warping a card. Okay, the Sunborn's going to be an issue. Gigantic flying lifelinker. Incredibly hard to beat. We're going to go for that full value turn here that we had the possibility to do. Gets us a nice big swing as well. If they play anything other than land Sunborn, I think we have a pretty good chance here, but we know that they have a Sunborn, so that is their most likely play by far. Is just basic land Sunborn, and then I'm kind of stuck here. Okay, they don't have the land for it. That is super good. really don't care that much about them getting the lander tokens, because if they crack them towards Sunborn, then they're not casting it next turn anyway, so I think we're just going to flunge here for damage. Play the Nebula Dragon. Requires me to tap the Scoutlander and not attack with the Scoutlander this turn, but it makes it so they can't double block and kill Crasher. Or Colossus. Yeah, that's reasonable. They get the indestructible trick, that'd be very annoying. Wow. That's tremendously good here. That means they can trade a single 3/2 into one of these if I send them in. Yikes. It really gives them the turn to hit the Sunborn here and have the lifelink on blocks. Did they win the coin flip this turn and hit the basic? I'm not going to trigger Void for them. We have plenty of life to play around with still. Wow. Oh, we are so lucky it took them so long to hit this land. Because I think they're just dead on board now. Yeah, they blocked the 5/5 and died to everybody else. Sketchy game, but we get the victory there just due to some luck there with our opponent getting unlucky on their lands. And we are 2-1 heading into game 4. Our 9-6 split on Forests to Mountains is really not showing up in our opening hands, sadly. And it's going to be forcing us into another mulligan here. This is a slow opener here, but it has our main colors. Ramps into the splash color as well and a turn 4 Colossus. So it is better than most mulls to 5 at least. Which means I will not take the mulligan to 5 there. Gene Pollinator's the draw. A little awkward drawing it off curve like that. Our opponent has their own secluded Starforge. There's the Fell Grab Ship. Rakdos is pretty annoying in this set with the Grab Ship Interceptor Mechan kind of grind that they have the game plan for. Was that negative? Does that count as something negative? I might have broken my streak. Trying not to say anything negative about Edge of Eternities. I'm just trying to say Rakdos has a lot of grind to it. They can do Gravedigger loops with Mechan and Graph Ships and stuff like that. So we're terrified, because that is a Gravedigger loop set up already for infinite graveyard value. Annoying was not the right word. It's the mirror match. Fully active grab ship this early is very bad for me, because even if I just vote it out, they get to Interceptor Mechan it back, and then when the Interceptor Mechan dies, they get to Fell Grab Ship back the Interceptor Mechan, and thus is the unbeatable sort of loop that we're talking about. I don't feel that I have much of another choice here, though. When they're getting the life-linking swings out of that grab ship, that is so valuable. Okay, luckily the Vestige just poops out the Mechan, so I can vote out the grab ship, and unless they have a second Mechan, or grav ship or something, it'll actually just be dead. I could play Vote Out and Moxite in the same turn. If I don't hit them at all, I don't feel like that's worth it. We can just hold off on the Moxite for now. This is 7 station, right? Yes. We can finish that there and hit for 8. Now that they don't have lifelink and they just hit for 3 on the crackback. Yeah, we're vibing. I do have my own Nebula Dragon in this deck. 6. If I draw it, I guess if I draw it, I just go Mountain and then cast it. I can hold this in hand for Moxite in case I draw pretty much anything else. Ooh, Warmaker Gunship, exceptional card. Removal spell plus a threat all in one. There's the Voided Tragic Trajectory to go with it for a 1-mana removal spell for my 4-mana creature. Here comes the Rakdos Grindfest. A little bit of flood for us, but we still get to clear out the Mechan. Which I kind of have to do, which is awkward, because then I can't kill the Vestige. Killing the Vestige draws another card anyway. I don't think I have any chance at all this game. Because I'm trying to think, like, what do I save Plunge for? Like, I could save it for Gunship, because the problem is if I kill Mechan here, they go land, Vestige. Vestige immediately fully stations the Gunship. Now I'm taking 4 in the sky every turn. So 1 more damage per turn than Mechan is. But Mechan is hitting me immediately. This is not instant speed. I think I have to plunge Mechan, but I also don't see any outcome from here where this game is winnable. Their card quality is just far too high. With 2-for-1s.deck, Mechan, Gravship, Gunship, Vestige. Nebula Dragon's a 2-for-1 as well. They hit the 6th mana for Vestige. But they go for Warp Beckoner. So there must be a second spell here that's pretty good for them. Warp Beckoner, play Faithful on the Hole Carver for extra value. Sure. Yeah, this is more value in the long run. Does that make sense? Technically a little bit less damage than if they just went Vestige, though. Nebula Dragon, clear out the Pollinator. Go to 5. The color pair of infinite 2-for-1s hits us with infinite 2-for-1s, and we move on to game number 5. Well, we have the green sources in this opening hand, so we will keep it. And there's the red source. Immediately drawing a land does give us some concerns about flooding out from here, though. 5 lands already. Draw more mana, Dorks. 'Cause Okay, can play Mechan and Pollinator, which is fun. We will have a bajillion mana for any spell we want to cast ASAP. Looks like our opponent also does not have the most spells ever, as they spend their turn 3 just putting 1/1/1 counter on Tenderfoot. Station 7. Poke for 3 or station for 3 or something in between is the question. 7 mana to activate this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can activate that next turn for a 5 station on Scoutlander. So if I do this for 2 and Mechan doesn't die, I can station for 7 next turn off 1 creature. Plasma Bolts. If I get a Void trigger, I can kill Tenderfoot. All their mana up here. I feel like I'm going to tap out for Zookeeper Mechan, and then they're just going to kill it. Kill whatever I buff to station the Scoutlander with. So I think I'd rather just start putting out 2/2s every turn. And wait another turn for the Scoutlander station. I guess that was the argument for doing 3s, and I could do 4 with all these. Could have been worth it. I missed out a few points of damage, potentially. They also could just like have a Bombard here that they're saving for when this is stationed, that they could have used last turn with the 4 mana up. Nope, I play a 5/5 here, so they're not going to kill it this turn. There's a Fungal Colossus for us. A nice fun guy. I guess I just do this at instant speed, because I have to tap so many blockers to do it right now. Actually can't do it if I attack with Scoutlander, because I need 2 extra untapped permanents. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Probably should have kept Scoutlander unstationed then, so that it dodges Plasma Bolts and Bombards and the like. Tap my whole board to get a 2/2. And I don't want to block there. Don't want to block there. I guess I'm going to do that. If I don't block, I'm dead to a Plasma Bolt. Okay, if they're going to do that. I am still dead to a Plasma Bolt on a future turn, because they can crack a lander and cast a Plasma Bolt. Still feel obligated to chump. This is a really rough spot, too, because they get to draw a fresh new hand off that. Death Touching Blocker is a good draw. We've got our discard a card, draw a card in this deck, so I'm not going to play this Forest out. It will make me use Gene Pollinator to use the Star Forge. Yikes. It's an incredible draw. 4 points of direct to face damage, plus the ramp to shove more counters on Tenderfoot if they can get the Stinger out of the way. Good draw. Life gain plus a void trigger is huge. One, two, three, four. I don't have the 5 I need for Starforge anyway. I guess I could play around a random haster holding Pollinator up. Jesus. It is actually 1 toughness off from what I thought it was going to be, which was that I was going to get them an actually good attack here, but it's 1 toughness short of actually breaking through. Orbital Plunge is 1,000,000 toughness short. Oh, what am I talking about? Mouthstrider's Resolve makes it so all I can do is chump block. They actually definitely should have just swung there. Oh my god, I'm so lucky. I forgot as well. It's really easy to forget that kind of text. So I'm really, really lucky that our opponent doesn't realize that we cannot double block the Sky Warden. I'm not going to highlight it to show you all the text, because then our opponent will see that it's highlighted and probably double check and read it. But the very last line of text is that the enchanted creature can't be blocked by more than 1 creature, and the only reason I know that is because it's sick with the Landseeker, because then you can't block the Landseeker at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can't crack the lander and get a 2/2 even if I play this land, so just pass through and get the 2/2. Death Touch Menace is wild. Probably just going to get 4 damage in here. But that opens us up for the lethal swing next turn, I think. With them at 12 now. 2, 3, 4, 5. Get another 2/2 instead of playing plunge right now. I'm tempted to just plunge the Turbotrone because it does have a scary ability. I'm giving haste to whatever they play. It's like if they played a big flyer, we could just insta-die. Shattered Wings. There goes 1/2/2. Death Toucher was such a good draw here because now even if they find the Melt Strider Resolve ability, we just have a Death Toucher to trade into Sky Warden 1-for-1. There's our own resolve for a completely unblockable Land Seeker, which is fun. And we'll certainly play it here. Clear out as many blockers as possible. This is dead on board. And we have a backup chump blocker if this somehow does not kill them. Concession from our opponent, essentially. Very, very lucky game there. We would have been dead in the water without that Secluded Starforge. As you can see, in those games where you end up in a top deck war, each player's a bit flooded, the incremental value this gives you is absurd. This gave us probably like 8 2/2s throughout this game because we had to chump with a couple, trade with a couple, maybe even more than that. Insane work from Secluded Starforge. The game would have been unwinnable without that, and also if they didn't realize, or if they did realize the extra text on the Melt Strider's Resolve, they could have just edicted us every turn, and we never would have gotten more robots. We would have had to keep just spending 5 just to chump, spend 5 to chump, spend 5 to chump. We did eventually draw a Blooming Stinger, but if I had to keep trading, I wouldn't have had enough 2/2s to then make good blocks against, you know, once they drew the Turbo Drone and the Bruntar alongside the Sky Warden. So it would have been a much sketchier position there. So very lucky game there in multiple aspects, and that is going to bring us to at least a 50-50 run here. That's our third win. 3-2 it is, heading into Game 6. All right, here we are for Game 6. Very solid opener. Specialist into Wayfarer. Watery Grave, so blue and black from our opponent, at least. Into an island. All Fate Scroll, after playing a Plains. So many colors over there. We've drawn a ton of removal. We started with one Orbital Plunge in the opener. Our draws have been another Orbital Plunge and a Melt Strider's Resolve. Alright, still just blue, white, and black mana for our opponent. Psionicist plus a second spell for super cheap, because Psionicist is absurd. Second spell is Genomorph Imago, a green spell. So there are at least 4 colors, and they have just played one of the strongest rares in the whole set. I kind of just want to plunge Psionicist before they get any more cost reductions out of it. I have a absolute stack of removal here. So I'll take a hit from Imago first, but I can resolve that and save the 6 damage removal for bigger stuff. They play another good threat. I just play Plunge plus Resolve next turn. Dawnsire. That does literally nothing. Let's go. Love to see it. Doesn't do anything until they station it for 10, and then also attack afterwards. So I'm not worried about that card. I'm worried about Imago. I kind of just want to kill it. I'm not playing a 5/5 on the board, but I'm making sure I get specialist value here instead, which I think is fine. And making sure Imago doesn't do anything. Galactic Wayfarer. Get a lander. And work on the Dawnsire. Alright, no blocks then. Probably crack the lander in our end step. I think really our only concern is like a board wipe here. They don't really have the mana for. I mean, I could just try to get lethal right now. This probably happens. Just crack 2 landers for the final 4 damage. That looks lethal to me. Insane work from Biotech Specialist here. It did what, like 8 extra damage that game? Gnarly stuff. That is 4 wins now, guaranteeing more wins than losses, and at the break-even points on gems. Here we are for game number 7. If they have the early, like, 1-mana removal for Gene Pollinator, we're going to have some problems. 2-mana removal works as well since they're on the play, if they have, like, a Depressurize or something. But the plan is Pollinator into Specialist, and then the Lander token from the Specialist makes sure that we have our main colors, and we'll be fine. Ooh, Station Monitor, I hate you. Cannot kill that with Meltstrider's Resolve. This is so weird. But in order to have a good permanent for Pollinator immediately, I'm going to kill a Gale Blade. So I get like actual ramp here instantaneously. I can crack the lander and still ramp up with Pollinator in the same turn. And this is the only way that we can lock in a turn 3 plunge on the Station Monitor. Let's see what kind of protection they've got for it here. Nothing. Let's go. Get out of here, Station Monitor. I could have chosen not to attack with Specialists, because they could have the Focus Fire, but Focus Fire only deals 2 damage right now because they have no permanents on their board anyway, so even if they had it, it wouldn't kill Specialist yet. Alright, go squad, go. Nebula Dargan. Goodbye 2-1. I will happily redraw a Nebula Dragon. Auxiliary boosters. That is 4 toughness, so it gets around the dragon. I can get the 1 damage from Pollinator guaranteed. Or they can punt. We like that too. There's Elvoy Operative, and then Mechan Navigator for the counter on it. Okay, there's 4 in the sky every turn now. Until they put boosters on something, then I vote out whatever they put the boosters on. Sure. Mechanozoa stuns are going to be great here. Buy them a lot of time. They're going to use that time to push some damage with this operative. Down to 13. I will lose if I draw all lands from here on. Oh my god. The Cryogen Relic to stun the dragon and draw another card, and then they still have the Mechanozoa to stun it again afterward. It's an excellent draw for our opponent. We are losing the top deck war real bad right now. Warp the Whale to double spell for operative and set up their draws with the Surveil. Plasma Bolt top deck, 1 time, come on. Our second Nebula Dragon's also lethal. Zookeeper Mechan, I think we're flooded enough to use that immediately. Yeah, let's go. We actually had a lot of lethal top decks, come to think of it. Wow. Alright. Boop. That is 5 and 2 now. We're guaranteed in the money out of this draft. We need to top deck 1 land in our first 3 draw steps, but we are on the draw to help do that. And then that land gives us every color of mana, even the splash, so I believe this is a keep. If we hit the mountain naturally in the first 2 cards, then we've got an excellent start with Scoutlander sacking the lander. Alas, it was not to be. But we have hit a land in the top 3, so we are definitely going to get to play this game out. Playing against blue-black. Monoist, a very frustrating card for us, as the trades into any of our 2/2s are really bad. Also, the trades into our removal spells are very bad. Classic little 2-for-1er. Okay, 5 mana available. I only have even mana values here, so we're just going to double spell 2/2 drops, probably. I guess I could play a new creature and cast a Vote Out alongside it. That's the play. Like Specialist, Vote Out the Silencer. I don't think I really mind just trading Blooming Stinger into the Silencer, though, in the first place. Now Scoutlander's fully stationed off of 2 2/2s. However, I could station it to 5 right now, so it stations off 1 creature. Because I don't think the Stinger blocking the Silencer is nearly as good as attacking into it. Because then they get the free Hilderblade equip onto like Monoist in the end step. +3/+1 is pretty threatening. Yeah, I think I'm just going to station here and take the 4. Slight argument to hold on to that land. Currently in our hand, we don't need more lands out yet. And our opponent is Virus Beetle colors. But if we top deck like a high mana value card, we're going to be disappointed that we were skipping land drops to play around Virus Beetle. All in on the Monoist. Fair enough, that forces our hand with our removal. Not the loveliest. So we're going to give them their little 2/2 on the ground here. But now we've immediately gone into the aggressive lead. 3 damage in the sky, and we are getting chip damage of 2 a turn with the Biotech Specialist with these Lander tokens. And we have a run out of stuff. We're just making a bunch of 2/2s off the Starforge again. To the end step they go. Crack a Lander we shall. So maybe a Grav kill, some sort of instant speed removal from our opponent. Unfortunately, all our interaction is sorcery speed, so we're not going to be able to reverse it on them or anything here. Just send in the flyer, let it get Grav killed or whatever. Take the damage, alright. Play a Pollinator and have Starforge mana up. End step, get a 2/2. There's a Land Seeker. Speed up the clock here, I guess. Probably threatening lethal with an Orbital Plunge play. I'm going to still play it a tiny bit safe. Against all of their mana untapped, a bunch of cards in hand, or keep playing nothing. I have no idea what's going on here. But if we just sit on our butt and keep making 2/2s of Starforge, the game just keeps going farther and farther in our favor at 0 risk, basically. With tons of backups in hand. Dubious Delicacy. Kill the Scout Lander. No land here. I guess they're just stuck on mana and no cheap spells. There's a concession from our opponent. We just make a 2-2, crack a lander, pings them to 5, swing with everybody, that's dead. Alright, 6-2 it is, heading into round number 9. Alright, Blooming Stinger, Meltstrider's Resolve is a wombo combo here. I can kill a 3-3 with that without losing the Stinger. Because it's not actually that crazy of a combo. Jean is fashionably late. What a little butthead. That keeps us from turn 3 Fungal Colossus. I guess I don't get turn 3 Fungal Colossus without a Swamp or the colorless land anyway. Mucksite. Land and a plunge. Not bad. Alright, we still get turn 4 Colossus off Jean. Grav Pack Monoist. The annoying little booty again. Well, here's a 5-5, so I can attack through that. And hopefully they attack with it anyway, and then I don't have to worry about trading a 2-2 into that. Getting 2 for 1. Ooh. Cute little combo there. Can push big damage, though, through that. Now they can't double block the 5-5. And we make a 3-3. They're down to 10. Not a 3-3, sorry, we make a 2-2 here. Just exile 1 creature. Sure, still have 5 power on this board. We can have their life total if I cast Orbital Plunge. Okay, not through Gene Pollinator, but we still have good attacks. Five, 6. Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty dang good. I'm tempted to kill Jean. Keep them off mana. If I kill the 2-2, this 2-2 attacks freely. All they can do is chump. If I kill Jean, I'm keeping them off mana, but then when we do trade here, I think I'm supposed to kill Jean. No, I got forest anyway. For double green spells. But no splash color or anything. I gotta sack it to blow somebody up? Oh no, it's just the green removal spell fair. If they had the sack removal, that'd be miserably bad there. They gain 1 life a turn. Honestly, just take the trade. Or I just only attack with Nebula Dragon. Ah, the kill ship for the stabilize. Well, I have to draw a threat. Can be almost any threat. And a Stinger works. That's a 3-turn clock. Oh my god. 2 2-for-1 removal spells in a row to stabilize here in the end. I'm gonna hold my tongue on what I was gonna say. Drop an Orbital Plunge and pass. probably more removal in their hand. So I need to draw like 2 more threats, and they just need to draw 1 more to station kill ship and kill me quick. And we are drawing a bunch of lands instead. Agrarian is a particularly powerful one, as it's going to spit out a land or token every turn as well, and be just a monumentally big creature. Vestige is a good one, but I am already dead to removal with how massive their late game plays were here. I can't warp this or I'm leaving myself dead on board. They hit for 11, and then they untap, play a basic, that is 12. Attack with Agrarian, it gives them another lander, that is 13. That greenhouse would have been a horrific draw before they had the creatures. But it's very good when you do have creatures. Are they leaving themselves dead to removal? Or are they removing Vestige and stuff? Okay, so they skipped lethal. They decided lethal damage, not worth it. And we're 1 damage off from punishing them for it. Oh my god. Put them to 1 with Mechan. Come on, Plasma Bolt off the top. Ah, okay. Rude Tender. Jeez, Elegy Acolyte in that deck too. Some card quality there. Wayfarer really does not do it. So 6 and 3 it will be. Technically a great run here where we are getting some huge prize out. And now that the run is over, I'm going to allow myself to talk about the format again. Yeah, even on a great run like that where we go 6 and 3, almost maximum prize out, honestly, just super bored and didn't have a ton of fun. That's how I feel about Edge of Eternities at this point. That's how I feel about most sets once we're into like the 2-month mark. But Edge of Eternities had happened pretty fast for me. I just don't find the gameplay particularly compelling. It feels really, really draw dependent. And even when I win, I'm just not having the greatest time, and that's certainly how today felt. I won. Basically won, all things considered, but I don't feel like a winner. And what I was holding my tongue on in that last game was like, I was going to say, pretty standard for Edge of Eternities. Hit us with multiple 2-for-1 removal spells to stabilize in the late game. This is a set just all about 2-for-1s, really. Like we see out of the Rakdos deck, it's like 2-for-1 grind out, like play a creature, return a thing from grave, play a creature, return a thing from grave, play a creature, get a lander, play a creature, get a lander, play a creature, kill a thing, play a creature, kill a thing. It's just a lot of slow incremental card advantage in late game plays, mainly, that can flip a lot of these games. Every single additional card you draw in the late game can get you that much closer, can really flip the game on its head, just with a bunch of big late game 2-for-1s and stuff like that. So the top deck wars do feel rough, and there's a lot of them. Which is why I love having the Secluded Starforge. That was an MVP here. Won us a couple games today that ended in top deck wars. It would have ended that last game as well. If we had that in hand, that could have won that. Even through all those late game removal spells, if we had a Starforge in the opener, probably would have been enough to push those final few points of damage that we were missing. Yeah, it's a very solid deck. We had a couple real powerful rares going for it. The Vestige, the Specialist, and the Starforge. There's really nothing bad to say about it. Got real close to the full 7-win run, and I think it's certainly capable of it. Could have done worse as well. We drew very reasonably throughout the day. Could have certainly done worse, so happy with a 6-3 overall. Just ready to play something else whenever that gets uploaded. But we still gotta play nothing but Edge of Eternities for another few days here before they bring back anything for flashbacks. So How about next draft I will try being full positive. I wasn't really that positive today. I'll say that. I think I did hit my goal of not really saying negative things about Edge of Eternities itself until we were done with all the gameplay, but I didn't really say too much positive or try to be super upbeat and have a ton of fun either. I was just trying to play well as my monkey brain can do. How about for tomorrow's draft, we try to just be full upbeat, full positivity, just put a mask on and pretend the set is incredible. I don't know. We got to do something to fight the boredom here because it's setting in. It's that late season Magic stuff where we are ready for the next set, but the next set is not ready for us yet. We'll do what we can here on the channel. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.